Hey guys, my name is Victoria Evans, and I'm a science-based intuitive eating coach who specializes in bulimia recovery. I'm super excited for this video because today I'm going to be sharing with you my top tips on weight gain in recovery from bulimia. Before we dive into this video, I wanted to let you know that I do offer coaching for bulimia. This is a one-on-one coaching program. We meet weekly over Zoom. You also have me for 24/7 accountability. You can message me any time of day. That's unlimited between call support, as well as all my best tools and tips, some of which you see here in my videos. So if that's something that you're interested in, I invite you to head to the description below and book a consult call with me. So let's talk about weight gain and recovery from bulimia. Now, I'm someone who struggled with bulimia for over 10 years, and one of the biggest things that stopped me in my recovery was my fear of weight gain. I was absolutely terrified of my weight increasing, of my weight changing. I remember I was visiting a psychologist and she said, Victoria, but if the difference between being happy was gaining 5 pounds, would you do it? And I remember saying, absolutely not. I would never gain 5 pounds. For me, that seemed like the end of the world. So if you're listening to this video right now and weight gain just seems like the most terrifying, awful thing ever, I get it. I feel you. I have been there. You're not alone in it. My clients have been there, and I'm going to be giving you some tips to help you work through it. My first tip is dealing with the fear of what will everyone think. So I know for myself, this was so scary. People have known me in this certain body size. What are they going to think if my weight changes, if my weight increases when I'm in recovery? And here's the harsh truth. People are going to fall into two different categories when it comes to you changing weight, you gaining weight, and what people are going to think about it. So the first category is that if people only love you for how you look, they are not the people that are meant to be in your life anyways. Meaning if your relationships are only quite literally skin deep, you will never truly feel connected to them or yourself. So yes, if your weight changes, those people whose relationships only go skin deep, those people who love you for your body, they might leave. And fucking let them. Do you want people in your life who only value you for how you look? Because I'm here to say that you are so much more than a fucking body, and you deserve to be treated as such. But people will only treat you as a body if you only value yourself as a body. You need to start making deeper relationships based off of who you are, not off of how you look. So that's the first category, right? The people who only love you for your weight, and that's not people you want to have loving you anyways. Second category that people can fall into. And to be honest, these are actually people from category part one, but it's just a different way of kind of understanding them. So the people who are commenting on your body are the people who are unhappy and insecure. I love the quote that says people who are trying to bring you down are already below you, because that completely describes the situation. When I work with women whose parents gave them so much trauma about their weight, about their body, and in coaching, they'll talk to those parents, right? Ask them and say, why did you say these things? What was going on? Honestly, 9.9 times out of 10, they had their parent doing the exact same thing to them. They had passed down this generational trauma of their body needing to look a certain way in order to be loved, in order to be accepted. Now, obviously, we know that it was actually hurting them, right? When people make comments on our body, it doesn't feel like they're trying to help us. It feels like they're trying to hurt us. But that's what they were trying to do, because they had their own problems. They had their own issues, their own body image issues. Right? So when people are commenting on your body, when people are telling you need to look a certain way, it's because they have unhealed trauma, unhealed problems with their own body image. And they're trying to help you in this weird way that they think is the best way by telling you, you need to look a certain way, you need to lose weight, oh, you've gained weight, whatever that thing is. They were conditioned to do that. We weren't born hating our bodies, we were taught to hate our bodies. And so when we have someone in our life, whether it be a parent or a friend or someone, making comments on our body, what they're really saying is, I have my own body issues. I have my own struggles. Because happy people without body image issues are not the ones commenting on other people's bodies. It's the people who are unhappy, the people who are insecure, people who have that trauma around their body who are making these comments. So with that, know that it is not your responsibility to be their punching bag for their own body image issues, nor is it your responsibility to resolve it for them. So if you have someone in your life who is making these type of comments, I invite you to share with them that it's not okay for them to be making these statements, that you won't have this in your life. You are doing what is best for you. You are taking care of yourself. And if they can't get on board with that, then they can't be a part of your life. And that's a harsh reality, and you can kind of phrase it however you want, right? But at the end of the day, it is not your responsibility to take on those comments from other people who have not done the work to heal their own traumas. So with all of that kind of tidbit information, here's the actual tip. So what you want to do is find a community of people where you feel safe to be you, where you're not being judged for your body, where you're not made to feel insecure about how you look. And if that is the environment you've created for yourself, I know I did for myself, right? When I was struggling with bulimia, I created an environment of people who loved me for how I looked, not for who I was. And so in recovery, I had to change that. Now, this wasn't as simple as me walking outside down the street and finding my group, my people. No. This was very difficult, and that's why I invite you, if you can do it in person, amazing, definitely pursue that. But one way you can do that is by creating an online community for yourself where you're safe to be yourself. So this can be listening to podcasts about recovery, listening to people's journeys. This could be watching my YouTube channel, right? Following Instagram accounts about recovery, true Instagram accounts about recovery. Honestly, some accounts are, or even TikTok accounts, some accounts are really propagating keeping their body small, what I eat in a day, and it's very toxic. So find people who are truly, and I think you'll know in your heart whether or not they're truly people, who are promoting recovery and, intuitive eating type dietitians and intuitive eating psychologists, that kind of thing. Follow those people. Read books on recovery, read books on people's stories who have recovered, work with me in coaching, basically create that community where you feel safe to be yourself so that you can block out the people in your life who maybe are making you not feel like you can be. This brings us to our second tip. The second tip is I want you to be sad. Now, obviously, don't be sad if you're not feeling sad in this moment. But one of the things that we often do when we are struggling with gaining weight or we're gaining weight in recovery is we don't let ourselves feel our feelings, right? Or we feel sad or upset or overwhelmed, and then we think that means we have to go back to restriction. You are allowed to be sad and scream into a pillow and punch a wall and feel all the things and then do nothing, right? Meaning just because you're feeling terrified and angry and all of that doesn't mean you need to go back to purging or to lose weight. You can feel your feelings without making it mean that you are failing, that you've messed up, or that you need to purge. No, none of that, right? You can simply be upset and scared and frustrated and overwhelmed and feel all those big, scary feelings and then not need to take any action steps from that. Just feel your emotions and then they will pass. I promise you. I remember several years ago, I was coming back from a doctor's appointment. It was a couple hours away. She specialized in periods and athletes and all that kind of stuff. And anyways, I'd lost my period, right? I'd had amenorrhea because I was struggling so much with bulimia and anorexia. I'd lost my period, my hair was falling out, it was a mess. Anyways, I was on the way back from this doctor's appointment and she said to me, Victoria, you need to gain some weight in order to get your period back. And for whatever reason, this gave me this kind of light bulb moment that I had permission to go eat. And obviously I did, and obviously you always do, but it was this weird switch in this moment where all of a sudden my fear and anxiety around weight change just for a moment kind of subsided. So on the way home, I stopped at a bulk barn, which I'm from Canada, so that's basically this kind of food store where you can buy bulk types of food. I was buying chocolates and chocolate chipped Oreos and chips and whatever. And I stopped at a McDonald's, and it was a full binge ride home, basically, after I'd been given this kind of green light, as it were, from this doctor to eat food, to gain weight, to get my period back. And I remember feeling increasingly anxious as I was getting home because at this point, I had been done purging for a little while now, and I didn't want to go back to it. I was really determined, I was really set. But this was the biggest binge I had really ever had since I had quit my bulimia days, right? And so I remember pulling into the driveway and just being like a shaking, crying mess, like completely fight or flight mode, right? If you've watched my other videos or worked with me, like that sympathetic, right? Fight or flight, very anxious, very overwhelmed. I couldn't relax. I was like very shaky. Even just telling the story, I'm like, I could feel myself being like, oh. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I can't let myself purge, but I have so much food in my body. And I remember just panicking. I remember running to the park, and this was the middle of winter. I was in boots and a scarf and a jacket and everything. Running to the park down the street, it wasn't very far. It only took me maybe 2 or 3 minutes. was pitch black out, and I remember sitting on a park bench in the middle, like it was at this point maybe it was 8 p.m. at night, so pitch blackout, right? Sitting there and just bawling and crying. It was like, I don't know how to live with not being able to get rid of this food in my body. Like, that's how scared I was. That's how overwhelmed I was. And so I cried and 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 I cried. And I cried till I couldn't cry anymore. And then I walked home in the dark by myself. And I remember crawling into my bed and just having the blanket, still remember, like the blankets over my head, and just crying softly into a pillow. And I eventually fell asleep late at night. And the next morning, I woke up. I woke up and I was okay. Nothing bad happened. I was so proud of myself for not purging and not relapsing. And I really gained that confidence that I could get through it. So you can feel your feelings about being scared of gaining weight, whether because you tried on some clothes and they're a little snugger now, or because you ate more food than you wanted to, or whatever that thing is, or someone makes a comment, or whatever it is. You can feel that fear. You can acknowledge that it is scary, but then not purge, not go back to restricting, not go back to negative behaviors that are no longer serving you. So that is my second tip, to feel your feelings and then not take any action step from it. Just feel them. You don't have to go back to, purging. You don't have to go back to restriction. You don't have to go run a long distance, right? Feel your feelings, give yourself permission to be sad and upset and overwhelmed, and then remind yourself that it's going to be okay. The sun is going to rise tomorrow. You're going to get up. It's all going to be okay. And I can promise you that it will be. Now let's talk about my tip number 3. This is to develop aspects outside of yourself that don't involve your appearance. You might not see it, but there's a good chance bulimia has completely engulfed your life in more ways than one. And even if you think, oh no, it's not that bad, Victoria, because you're still out actually doing things, well, I bet you're not 100% present in those things because you're worrying about your appearance, about your weight, about how much you ate or how much you didn't eat, or if you've exercised, or if you want to purge, or if you haven't purged yet, or all those kind of things, right? That constant mental chatter that goes on when you're trying to recover, you're in recovery, right? And it's just exhausting. You're not able to fully show up and live your life because you have this whole other little game world going on inside your head that you're trying to deal with in addition to actually living. So right now, I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen. If you have one around you, if not, hit the pause button, but go and do this because I want you to actually do this exercise. And if you're saying yourself you're going to do it later, you might actually not. So go get it, come back, I will wait, right? And we can do this together. Okay, I want you to start writing down a bucket list. What are all the things you want to do before you die? Now, this could be a pottery class, this could be backpacking Southeast Asia, this could be learning to knit a sweater, this could be painting watercolor, this could be writing a memoir about your recovery, whatever that thing is. I want you to think about travel and skills and different accomplishments you want to have, career, relationships, friendships, pets, volunteering, all of that. Once you spent a good long time on that, right? So pause me because you've not had enough time. I want you to have a good list of things that make you feel excited, that make you feel inspired about life. Really take some time to think about what are all the things that you want to do. And if you don't know, that's okay, right? That's part of what this process is rediscovering who you are without bulimia, regardless of what body size you're in. Because like I've said before, you are so much more than a body size. And when you're reducing yourself to that, you're focusing so much on it that you're not able to fully show up and live. And then the list that we're going to make, right, is all the things that you're missing out on. So let's focus on those things and build that up so that your shift of importance goes away from body size and starts to go more into actually living and showing up fully in your life. Once you've had that part 1 list done, your bucket list, I want you to get a new piece of paper out. Now, from that original part 1 bucket list, I want you to start to highlight or circle or put a star next to some of the things you can start working on to accomplish this year. So some things like maybe a Southeast Asia backpacking trip, I have no idea. Maybe that's like a next year thing or a few years down the line. Maybe that requires a little bit more savings. Maybe there's some things you really want to do like immediately. So maybe you want to take an improv class, or maybe you want to do a pottery class, or maybe you want to, whatever that thing is. Now again, pause me if you haven't had a chance to go through and highlight or star or whatever all the different ones that are things that you want to start doing sooner than later. Like this year, this week, next month, really start to highlight the things that are exciting to you in this exact moment that you want to do now. That might mean you have to pause me, that's okay, come back after. Now with those ones you circled or starred or highlighted or whatever, I want you to rewrite them onto a new blank piece of paper. So you have their part one, which is your bucket list. I want you to paste that up somewhere you can see it regularly, right? That's that kind of inspiration. That's the thing that you're moving towards. That is what's on the other side of releasing that fear of weight gain, that you can start living and focusing on, showing up fully in your life instead of trying to shrink yourself. And then that second list, right, the ones that are things you want to do a bit more immediately, let's turn those into some action steps. So like I said, can you book that pottery class next week? Or can you start saving and putting together a travel plan for Southeast Asia, right? What are those different next step things you can start doing on that second list? The goal here is to feel excited about your life again, to start truly showing up. We're not just doing things anymore because we want to look a certain way. We're doing things because we want to live. I promise you, you won't regret living your life, but you will regret not living it because of fear of weight change. And here's the good news. You are so much more than a fucking body. You are so much more than a body. I know how scary it is to gain weight. I've lived it. I've been the one screaming into a pillow and just going out of my mind. I remember when I had this one dress and it could no longer zip up, and in a fetal position on the floor. I didn't know what to do. So I get it if you're afraid of weight change, but I can absolutely promise you that any weight gain in recovery is absolutely worth it. My life is fucking incredible now. And I am so proud of myself for getting through that fear and that overwhelm and that just all-consuming, paralyzing, fear of gaining weight. And now I've got to do just incredible things, and I'm living such a full life. Whether it be in my relationship, I'm now newly engaged, I'm getting married next summer. I've started a new business where I'm launching the world's first sweat-proof dress. I'm living in Portugal. I travel the world. I have incredible friends. My life is so rich, and none of it has anything to do with shrinking myself or keeping myself small. And that's what you need to focus on, is all the things you're going to gain when your weight changes, not all the things you're going to lose. Now, with that said, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I am offering coaching specifically for bulimia recovery. So if you're someone who wants that accountability, if you want someone who's there, your cheerleader, your coach, pushing you, holding you accountable, but also holding your hand the entire way, because I get how difficult it is, I'm your girl. I got you. I invite you to head down to the description and book a consult call. We can work together one-on-one over Zoom calls. You'll also have access to unlimited between call support, which means you can message me any time of day and I will get back to you. And so you have that accountability. You have me there with you, holding your hand every step of this journey. And finally, of course, you have all my different homework tools and tips, so many of which I do not talk about in my YouTube videos. And so if you're curious to know what those are, again, check out my coaching. It can really change your life. I'm so proud of all the incredible women who have gone through my program, who struggled with bulimia for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, whatever that number is. And we've just had incredible transformation. And I would be so honored if I got to work with you and help you change your life as well. All right, so head to the description to check that out. And again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.